It is late in the Second Era, a time of war, as the empire of Tiber Septim sweeps through the kingdoms of Tamriel in a glorious bid for conquest. Septim is opposed on all sides, but never more fiercely than by Hammerfell, the ancestral home of the Redguards. The High King of Hammerfell, Thasard II, resists the imperial invasions even as he sees other kingdoms crumble, until at last, without warning and surprisingly devoid of court treachery, death takes its full measure. With its High King dead, Hammerfell is crippled, plunging into a bloody civil war between the crowns, fighting for their homeland's continued sovereignty, and the forebears, who have finally accepted the Emperor's rule. The crowns, led by the heir to Thasard, Prince Ator, are continually victorious, spilling the blood of the forebears across Hammerfell's sands. From his seat of power in the port city of Stros-Makai, Prince Ator slowly reunites his father's unraveled kingdom. Feeling their impending defeat, the forebears sign a pact with the Emperor, allowing him to bring his armies in, crush the crowns, and rule Hammerfell as his own. Tiber Septim's armies prove too much for the proud Redguard crowns. Tiber Septim sends his best commander, Lord Richten, to Stros-Makai to close the grip on Prince Ator and the crowns. The prince rallies his forces for one last stand. Knowing that Hammerfell's sovereignty is at stake, the crown forces match the might of the empire, meeting them in the harbor of Stros-Makai for the final battle. The fighting is fierce. Lord Richten, having seen the prince's victories at sea before, decides to bring his last resource to the fore. The dragon, Nathalilagus, proud jewel of the imperial crown. Ator commands his archers to ready their weapons, but is struck down himself by Richten's assassin, felled by an arrow whose poison spreads too fast. Ator's wizard attempts to save the prince, but the dragon ends his magic and the crown's hope for victory in a single fiery breath. Having conquered the crowns, the Emperor's forces claim rule over all of Hammerfell. Imperial garrisons are stationed at every city, and Richten himself is named provisional governor of Stros-Makai. Months pass. The Redguards of Hammerfell, both crown and forebear, learn to live under the new imperial rule, and Tiber Septim extends his reach into the rest of Tamriel. It is only through fate that any of this will come to concern our hero, Cyrus, a Redguard who long ago left Hammerfell to wander the borderlands of the Empire.
Kriniesars, eto forwakecher okodor.
Let's make this short, Sarathra. I've got work to do.
Balizihataratami. Sicho.
I leave with Duardine's men in an hour.
Renrigi intnor. Oko o imperial ja. Iko pofam rotot velk.
You should know you got me the job.
Tragir. Sratra kolkote to Hammerfell. Boshe in rot.
The seal is broken.
Sratra warrega.
Yeah, I bet you were.
No kodwadin. Sratra X Kyle.
Izara.
Rolita dek kaudor.
I need a ship.
To board the koi Sratra nakovik warabarashi.
Money, too.
Sridwadin ja. Epako ja srik. Pur Sratra kadoiliter beko.
We haven't spoken in 10 years. There was trouble.
Kakatar.
I killed her husband.
Hammerfell's prodigal son, Cyrus, returns to the province of his birth. He buys passage to the island of Stosmakai in the hopes of rescuing his sister, Izara.
Below is what the pilot said to the wet-haired maids before him.
The Restless League is claiming this cargo,
Said the other with cruel clarity.
Probably wouldn't make a difference if I told you I had no time for this.
This is about Redguard armor, boy. Stand aside.
Yes, a doubtful notion it is. Piracy and politics. But there you have it.
Never been much for politics. In my day, piracy was honest work.
Don't be a hero, boy.
Where's the money in that?
And yea, verily, by his bravery they were impressed for a scant few seconds. You little bastard.
You're rusty. Move on.
Not a good hit, but it will do. No!
Get to his other
That's a
side.
hit, but it won't.
You're rusty. Move over. How about you?
You two dance very well, but we could use a sword.
My turn.
That's it. Oh!
Cyrus.
Captain, good to see you back in command.
Please call me Brennan. You disposed of those ruffians so quickly, I had no time to retrieve my sword from my cabin.
That's so, hmm?
Look, over there. Let us move on before more show up.
I hope this letter finds your hands, friend. My latest travels have brought me to Stros-Makai, and no one here has seen your sister for 3 months. I fear the worst. I feel obligated to stay for a few weeks. I'll be at the Dragon Tail Inn should you return. Tobias.
Tyrus. And how do you do?
Brennan, can I have a minute?
Anything for your like, Tyrus.
I am looking for my sister Izara. Perhaps you have heard of her.
I'm afraid not. Before the Empire cleaned things up, Stros Makai was a pirate haven, avoided by honest merchants like myself.
The pirates who attacked us spoke of a restless league. Have you heard of them?
Other captains tell me the remaining banditti have organized themselves against the Empire's crackdown on smuggling and piracy.
How has Stros Makai fared under its new imperial masters?
The locals are still chafing at the bit, but in time they will come to appreciate the benefits of membership in the Empire.
That's so, I am meeting a friend at the Dragon Tail. Can you direct me?
I can't recommend it, but it's the only drink hall in this godforsaken town. Up the bridge, you see to the right, through the gate to the town square, you will see the sign.
The Empire has done well in its conquest of Hammerfell, you think?
Absolutely. No offense, but Hammerfell is in need of some law and order.
It seems the Empire has not eliminated all the pirates from Stros Makai.
Apparently so. They've become bold, attacking a ship so far into Hunding Bay. But give it time. The Empire has only been here a few months.
Thanks. We'll talk later.
Ahoy there, sail. Greetings, stranger.
What can I do for you, friend?
The question is, what can I do for you? The young stranger in town, fearless, footloose, and fancy-free, a little light of purse, perhaps. I have a proposition that may appeal, but first allow me to introduce myself. Kataro, contractor of Stros Makai, at your service.
Saris. Charmed. I wonder if you know my sister, Izara. I've come to Stros Makai to find out what's happened to her.
I'm afraid I don't know her. I'm just a simple working man. You might try Dreekius up at the Dragon Tail. Pretty much everyone in Stros Makai passes through his door eventually.
What do you know about a group of ruffians calling themselves the Restless League?
Damn them and their bloody-minded ways. They've done more to ruin Stros Makai than the Forebears and Empire combined. Yeah, if it weren't for them, this city would have been at peace months ago.
I haven't been in Hammerfell since before the war. How do you like being a citizen of the Empire?
Sure beats war, my young friend. I won't lie to you, though. Hard to find honest labor these days. Forebears would rather smirk than lift, and the crowns don't have the back for it anymore.
I guess the Forebears are still savoring victory in the Civil War, eh?
Yeah, you could say that, although you might not want to say it in their faces. They're a touchy lot these days.
I've been up north for years, but I was pretty sure the Forebears won the war.
Of course they did. And the Forebears like to bust up the Dragon Tail just in case anyone doubts it. Some ungenerous crowns like to point out the Imperial flags flying all over the palace and the Imperial soldiers patrolling the streets. None of my concern, though. You know what I mean?
I haven't...
Sure, hard to find.
Sounds like the crowns are taking their defeat pretty hard.
Yeah, I've always stayed out of politics. Bad for business. crown, forebear, I don't care, as long as their coin is true. My philosophy is, what's done is done. Live and let live. The grass is always greener, you know?
I'm supposed to meet a friend at the Dragon Tail. Can you direct me?
It's the only watering hole in town. Follow the ramps uphill to the town square. Bit of friendly advice, watch your step. The forebears are a touchy lot these days.
You call yourself a contractor. What does that mean?
Over here we have someone who needs something done. Over there we have someone who's looking for work. How do they find each other? That's where I come in.
Tell me about this job you have for me.
A simple task. Pick up an amulet from the Gasta and deliver it to the governor's palace. Now, to be honest, I've been having trouble finding someone to take the job. But I'm sure a robust lad such as yourself pays no attention to silly local superstitions. Are you interested?
Sure. I'll take the job.
Splendid. Here's your 100 gold. I'll have the rest for you after you deliver the amulet to the governor. Well, I'm sure you won't have any trouble, but, you probably want to do this during the daylight.
Refresh my memory about this job you hired me for.
A simple task.
Nagasta?
Yeah, a harmless old hermit. The more superstitious of my fellow citizens repeat silly rumors about him, but I put no stock in their tales. He lives in the old wizard's tower, just follow the shoals on the northwest side of the island.
Any idea what's so important about this amulet?
That's between the Gasta and the governor. I just get paid to find a delivery man.
How much are you offering for this job?
Like I said, I've been having trouble hiring for this job, so I'm upping the rate a bit. 100 up front and 200 more after completion.
That's pretty high for a simple delivery. What's the catch?
The pay's proportional to the danger. Nagasta's tower isn't exactly on the main road, you know? So you may have a little trouble getting there. Nothing that you can't handle, I'm sure.
Where can I find the governor's palace?
Straight at the top of the hill. You can't miss it. The grandest structure in Stros Mackay, maybe in all of Hammerfell. Quite the tourist attraction before the late unpleasantness.
What superstitions do the locals harbor about this Nagasta?
Oh, you know, they call him a necromancer, prattle about him stealing people's souls, armies of undead, you know, that sort of thing. Nothing a well-armed fellow like yourself would worry about.
How is the Restless League responsible for ruining Stros Mackay?
Burning or plundering half the cargoes headed for this port, stirring up the Imperials to ever more ruthless repression. The League doesn't seem to realize that the war is over, and they lost.
You're saying the League was allied with the Crowns?
That depends on who you ask. I don't know. I'm not one of your political gentlemen, always in someone else's business. I'm just a poor working stiff. Bird in the hand is better, you know what they say.
Tricky is?
A friendly local lizard. Not that I have anything against him, or her, or whatever. Can't ever tell with those Argonians. Runs the Dragon Tail, the tavern on the town square.
We'll talk later.
Well?
Hello, my name is Cyrus.
And mine is Trithic, lad.
I'm looking for my sister Izara. Perhaps you've seen her?
I do not know the name, but so many have been lost since the dragon arrived.
She went missing about 3 months ago.
If she was with the Crowns, I would count her among the casualties. Richton's slaughter was elegant only in its thoroughness.
The ship that brought me here was beset upon by some rascals called the Restless League. What do you know about them?
They were the necessary cancer of a nation divided and at war, grown at the borders where the kingdom's skin is most contested by the foreign sword. Fearless men, whose names are all too often breathed in hate. Don't believe them too wrong, for even the prince had their ear.
It seems quiet here, especially for a port city. How fares Stros Mackay under Imperial rule?
Defeat is read in every native face, my boy. The war cost the city much, including its voice. The crowns are no more. As kingless as Yokuda, lost now to song which no one will sing, lest Richten hear. Overmuch. The governor is the reason Stros Mackay is so quiet.
It seems I have not heard mention of Yokuda since my childhood.
The first land where the Redguards came from in blessed Hunting's day.
I saw the statue of Hunding on my way into port. I'm surprised Richten hasn't leveled it yet.
He cannot or will not, for it keeps the goblins out of Stros Mackay, out and under it. Such is Randar Hunding's grace that he blinds them still.
There are goblins under Stros Mackay?
And worse, but you needn't worry about them. They are doomed to the dirt and bother the Redguard no more.
What did the Imperials do to the prince?
A Tor was slain at sea, and there his body was lost, thankfully. Already the obligatory prophecy of his return has begun, spoken in hush, an ill surrogate for true hope this season. The Redguard should know better, be blind to desperate omen. Thasad's son has left us, winged swift and sadly, never to return.
So Ator had dealings with the Restless League then?
Never open league, for then even the Crown thought the League untrustworthy. Now they are Hammerfell's last. Ator's death sent them into hiding, and Dragonfire keeps them there.
How can you be thankful that Prince Ador's body was lost at sea?
Insofar that the seabed may claim him before the necromancer does, that is all. That his soul may rest easy from the snare surround.
Tell me about the necromancer.
A westward evil, a seat in the ash-gray shoals. On parade now that the Empire's here, lad. So don't die.
What is the snare surround?
The necromancer's curse, writhing in the near here, only a death away. Its magic snatches at your soul, should you perish, to fuel some darker deed still.
How far west are the shoals?
Not a day's journey. Just follow the path over the bridge.
Should I fear death more than normal then?
The snare waits for those who don't.
This dragon, an imperial metaphor perhaps?
Banner and bone, young Redguard. Seek the old quarter if you want to see the handiwork of both.
I fear that my sister's disappearance had something to do with the Civil War.
I read more than fear in your face, Redguard. Either retribution or redemption. Alas, sometimes they are the same. Neither can come without wounds.
I said nothing about redemption or...
Why else would you be here in this narrative? In you...
How can the two be the same?
In their concern for blood. In blood as closure. I assure you, it will be spilt before you find your sister. A prayer may do you well.
Where should I pray?
At the Temple of Blessed Arcade. Brother Niddle presides there, and he knew most of the people in town. He may know something about your sister.
Where is the temple?
In the town square, shoreside from the pool.
Perhaps I should speak to this Richten then.
Spoken true, my boy. But I'd advise against it. The Imperials suffer no Redguards in the palace unless you're forebear, and you walk on too few legs to be that.
What do the Imperials plan to do here?
Confusion often follows conquering. But if Septum does have a plan for Hammerfell, it hasn't been made clear. I suspect a greater plan than constant terror. For Richten has men all about the island, not just here in Stros Makai.
So I can't get into the palace then?
Not unless you can produce something that Richten will desire.
Has Tiber Septim made the crown suffer much for their resistance?
Through his agents, yes. But I fear that the provisional governor is an especially wicked feast to swallow. The blood has slowed to a trickle, if only for lack of targets, and the crowns who survive still remain silent.
Can a Redguard not even admit his allegiance to the crowns openly?
I can't speak for the rest of Hammerfell, but such an admission here is martyrdom at best. A persecution of silence reigns in Stros Makai.
Tell me of the forebears.
Throne defilers all, hosts to the invader, and Hunding's shame.
What happened to the old court?
It was the last stand of the Loyalist crowns, and Governor Richten had it destroyed. It smolders still, all ash and dragonfire. Few escaped the incident.
Thanks, Trip. I've got to go.
Hey, sailor.
Name's Cyrus. You okay?
No, I'm Crandall.
You seen a woman named Azara around?
Sure I have. Not that I remember names, though. Oh, but they remember mine. Them broads love Crandall. Have my way with them all, you know.
You've certainly spent a lot of time at the local tavern.
Richton's got that damn lizard Dreekius charging 3 gold pieces for lousy Valenwood wine. He freaks me out. Picking flies off the bar with his tongue. I can't relax with that going on.
Just like a drunk to blame the bartender for his troubles.
Ha! Who the heck do you blame for yours, anyway, tough guy? I know Dreekius' story. Just no one else does. Damned Argonians. Them dark elves got it right. Cage them up and let them haul ash.
Don't like Argonians either. Who do you like, Krendel?
Fine then, fine. Hang around that scaly bastard and catch the flu.
There hasn't been a case of that in 200 years.
All I'm saying, those of us who play our cards right could open a right good belt shop. Yeah.
Liquor tax?
That's right. It's a real shock that sailors don't hang around anymore. Who's in charge of that one?
What do you know about the group called the Restless League?
Them punks. Killed them all once I did. Bunch of Redguard pansies. They want me to join them, but I got too much thinking to do. Heavy load. I say, Richton's got it out for him. You watch out.
So Stros Mackay's one big party for you, eh?
You gotta drink to keep sane in this place. Them sissies around here think they can make the best of it. They make nothing. Nothing. Richton's got them all scared.
Rickton doesn't have you scared?
No, sirree. I kicked his fat butt. Not throw me in his catacombs.
You're scared of the catacombs, eh?
Didn't say that. Did not say that. Rickson throws the crowns in jail and pirates in the catacombs. I ain't neither. Doubt his cronies could take me anyway.
I've had enough.
Good. What will it be, traveler?
Barkeep, well met. I'm Cyrus.
I know. I had Tobias made out a fool to believe you'd come.
What?
I'm the one that smuggled his letter out for him. The Empire's been watching all shipments from this port. I figured our chances were slim.
Many thanks, then.
Welcome to the Dragon Tail, by the way, thesis-bound subsistence of mine, where there is good ear and ale co-equal. What can I do for you?
A drink might be nice. I'll use your ears later, maybe.
Ever ready to listen, Softskin? Let adventure thine be mine. I'll share what thoughts I can.
What can you tell me about Azara?
She frequented this establishment much before the battle in Hunting Bay. Less after, of course.
Of course.
She was a fervent one, your nestling, who hated the Empire not in hushed tones. After the occupation, she disappeared for a while.
She disappeared 3 months ago.
No, I'm talking about before that, right after the battle. Many crowns made themselves scarce then. Isara was one of them. I didn't see her for several weeks following. Later she showed up, needing a drink and rambling, intent on some decision.
What then?
The Imperials came, and I let her out through the window. I haven't seen her since.
The occupation, it seems, is taking long to consolidate, with the League about and the Imperials still hunting for wayward crowns.
Hammerfell's the defiant line of the human race still. They say some still fight the Empire on the mainland.
Is thus the Empire delayed in further expansion?
The whole wild world, the elf kingdoms, and the beastlands waits to see what finally happens here in the last land of men. A word of advice: beware the dragon tribe of the Emperor. The warrior king Tibir Septim does not tolerate rebellion. And Governor Rickton has promised summary execution to any who take arms to oppose his rule.
Wouldn't dream of it, unless he's responsible for my sister's disappearance.
Even if he were responsible, perhaps it would be wise to proceed cautiously.
Cautiously, eh? If only I knew how to do that. You said the Imperials came here looking for Azara the last night you saw her.
Not specifically for Isara. The Imperials had a list of dissidents they sought. Her name was there, with names of many other crowns. Since that time, I see only forebears here.
The forebears seem to enjoy your place.
The Imperial liquor tax has forced me to serve everyone, even the city's ancestral villains.
Tell me about the crowns.
Their fire is gone since the prince was lost. Few show their faces in Strosmichai. Some have passed to the mainland. Some few plot and scheme still, nursing fading dreams.
What are you talking about?
This tavern, of course, both site and subsidy of my studies, as well as a fine storehouse of spirits.
What's your subject of study?
The other, of course. Those ones not skinned in scale. We see that Septim's tribes will not be long satisfied with the thrones of men and the elder race. One day they will come to Black Marsh. Argonians have lost land once before, when we did not know our enemy.
I see, and what better place to learn the wants of men than at the bar?
There are other places, universities, the military, the magical guild, but I aim to chart man's geography of desire, which is most readily charted when he is drunk and blathering.
What do you think of the Restless League?
A human tribe of ill account, but whose single-mindedness is something I can fathom. Their raids upset my smuggling operations, and off thus my fair nature. Valenwood wine's hard to come by, you see, but over that, I have nothing worse to say.
You sympathize with the League, then?
Oh no, I merely noted their clannish drives, which any Argonian might admire. Being used, as we are, to honor the clan's interests about our own private affairs.
How then does an Argonian manage to leave his tribe to wander Tamriel?
You refer to me? I do not wander, Redguard. This is a settled study for me, from which I'll add to the wealth of wisdoms when I return to my clan.
I myself was a victim of these raids.
More obstacle, I'd suspect, than victim. The raids had ended, it seemed, but your mischance may be token of renewed troubles the sailors speak of. The League is marshalling anew its forces. Or so the rumor goes.
Some second battle of Stros Mackay?
True, it sounds unlikely, but they are dagger lads, the Restless League, and they vow to make war again.
How have the denizens of Black Marsh resisted the Empire so long?
1,000 miles of swamp, bog, and stink aren't attractive to most humans. And terror of the Kanatan flu still holds most at bay. But our days of testing will come. Is this your first visit to Stros Mackay, Cyrus?
Aye, but the occupation makes it seem less so. With the Imperial standards aloft at port, it seems like any other vassal town of Cyrodiil.
But for the unrest of like-blood?
The only blood I care about is my sister's. As far as I'm concerned, new kingless Hammerfell has gone its way.
Your apathy is decidedly reptilian.
I don't know how to take that coming from you. Hey, Drakius, I got this delivery job that'll get me into the palace for sure.
What are you going to deliver?
Some amulet meant for the governor.
Do you have it yet?
Not yet. I've got to get it at the Necromancer's Isle.
Don't forget to bring some gold to pay the boatman, Cyrus. And be careful.
Thanks, Drakius. I will. I'd better keep moving. Can we talk later?
Anytime, anytime.
Cyrus, you made it! Come here, lad. How you look good. It's been too long.
If you hadn't retired...
Mercenary life's younger men's work.
Bah, he said.
I prayed that you would get my letter.
It is lucky you were here, Tobias, or I wouldn't have known Azara was in trouble. I have not been in Hammerfell since the,
I know, lad, what you mean.
Anyway, Stros Mackay has no one who could have reached me. Thank you.
I sent the letter some weeks ago, Cyrus. I fear things have gotten worse for your sister since.
How do you mean worse? What more do you know about Azara?
Nothing more than my letter has described, that she is gone and no one knows where. Just a bad feeling that's grown worse with the wait. The governor has not been merciful with the crowns that survived the battle. I hear his dragon's belly is full of the overloud, and that many died later in the burning of the old quarter.
How did you know where to reach me, Tobias? Our paths parted so long ago.
I didn't send it to you directly. I knew that damn cat was probably still getting you into trouble, even to this day. Srathra seemed the likely solution, and through the channels I'd heard, he'd made Wayrest his port of late.
Now, he's moved from the throne seekers of the old empire to the lesser lords of High Rock, still playing them to his benefit, raking in the gold on all fronts.
I thought that Septim had solidified the Britons.
As much as the Witchmen will, there is still a lot of money to be made in the drawing of borders before the provincial laws dry completely. Mercenaries are in great demand right now, as are fixers like our cat friend.
Does he still stink so?
To hear.
I think I will go see him when I leave. It's been too long.
What happened to the old quarter?
The Crowns fled ashore there after the battle. It was their last stand. The governor sent his dragon, and it was done.
Was Azara there?
That section of town is closed off. No one I've talked to knows if she was there or not.
Where's the dragon now?
It's disappeared too. Some say it has returned to the imperial province. Others say the governor keeps it well paid and fed in the catacombs below the palace.
Is there another way into the catacombs?
There is the traditional way.
Imagine that I laughed. A secret entrance, maybe?
Maybe. I don't know.
Who in this town knew of Azara?
I did not question many for fear of ill allegiance. So I went to the temple to ask of her. For the brothers of RK are neutral in mortal affairs. There, Brother Niddle told me that Azara had vanished and set me on the road of righting you. Also, Dreekius here knew that she was missing too.
So the priests are still safe from being conquered.
Be that as it may, the temple is quite empty of priests, save for Brother Niddle. It seems some of their ranks have disappeared also.
I'm noticing a theme. Where did you hear that?
Niddle told me Brother Cathral vanished around the same time as your sister, and that they knew each other.
So I can count Brother Niddle as an ally then?
On my word, he was most helpful, but he seemed to be holding something back.
I wouldn't consider paranoia a bad character trait in Stros Mackay these days. Besides, you're so ugly.
That was it. He may open up to you more, being Azara's brother and half as hard to look at.
Tell me about the temple.
The head priest, a Brother Niddle, was very helpful in regards to Azara. He seemed to know her well and shared my concern over her disappearance. He is worth an interview.
I think I saw it across the plaza. What is the Restless League, Captain?
Where did you hear that name?
They attacked the ship that gave me passage.
Speak of it but in a whisper, and not too often. The governor is searching the surrounding waters for them, and will see them broken and piked if he has his way. The League has survived the death of the Crown Prince and resists his enemies still. But they are few, and going fewer from what I hear, and have been reduced to brigandry these days. Not far from the lives we led not too long ago, eh?
Bold are these brigands, the Restless League, to attack a ship in the very harbor.
They must be running low on provisions to act so desperately. They have been ghosts of late, and this appearance is their first since I've been here.
How do you know about them then?
They ran the Iliac before the war. Our lanes have crossed.
But after the occupation, they've stayed relatively scarce?
Yes, which is why their attack on you is so troubling. No one knew of your impending arrival?
Nobody but Seraphra. Would it matter?
I'm not sure.
We were never brigands when I served under you, Captain. Only mercenaries.
Tell that to those on the other end of the sword, lad. You see more of yourself in the men of the Restless League than you'd care to admit, I'd wager.
They're knaves with their eyes on Providence, nothing more. My sword's never been dressed for diplomacy. Give me gold for a throat, the throat for a slight, and I'm well. Give me a well-paying war.
War is the continuation of politics. That's it, right?
You quote Hunding like a Redguard, Tobias.
Political power grows along the blade of a sword.
Okay.
A drink to the Redguards. I see you still remember your childhood heroes, even if you've dismissed the homeland.
Hunding is a universal wellspring.
Be resolute, fear no sacrifice, and surmount every difficulty to win victory.
See? Anyone could admire that.
Tell me that your Redguard heart didn't buckle when you saw his statue at port.
Frandar Hunding is a great hero to Hammerfell, I'll admit, and even a little to myself. Hail the great founder and all that nonsense. But it's an ill plan to try and trigger the homeland tug through the invocation of Hunding, Tobias.
Really?
Don't forget he left his homeland too, and never looked back.
That's because it fell into the sea, you dolt.
What brought you to Stros Mackay?
War and the rumors of war. Every merchant that's near and seaworthy has come to Stros Mackay in the wake of recent events. Either in the service of the provisional governor or to fill the sea lines that Septim has shattered, and that the crowns can run no more. I thought I might profit from a visit, but it has brought naught but sorrow and the sign of darker days. I fear I shall be leaving none too soon.
You are leaving, Captain? When and wherefore?
At sunset, if all goes well, and as for where, whither I will. Stros Mackay is not for me.
But I thought you might help me.
The Imperials have been asking about yours truly around the docks lately. I fear my inquiries into Izara's disappearance have interested them in all the wrong ways. I will help you as I can through the course of this day, but after that I must be done with it. I'm too old for an Imperial prison.
It won't come to that.
You haven't been here long enough. My ship is ready to leave at sundown, but don't worry. I'll be here until then to help you along if you need it. A lot can transpire in a day. We will see each other again.
Since when were you a merchant, Tobias?
The fight left me after our little foray into Morrowind. It's been sweet commerce ever since.
I've not returned to Morrowind since then.
Who'd want to? All that ash and fire. Those dark elves can keep their curse.
Don't forget the bugs.
Which reminds me, Governor Richten has a little sting of his own from those parts. His lieutenant is a dark elf. Watch out for that one. Always close by the governor, hiding in his shadow.
Which means he's got plenty of room to maneuver.
I'd welcome another chance at the Dark Elves. I've still got scars.
Watch yourself.
Is it safe to talk here?
As safe as any, and the ale is good. Drekius can be trusted as much as any walking lizard can be. It might get a little rough with all the forebears around, but I'll be here until I leave Stros Mackay.
The barkeep is a long way from Black Marsh, isn't he?
That's right, and it's kept me good company in my wait for you. Trust it well after I leave, for it knows this island and all who live here. But don't bother asking about the eye, because I already have.
Drekius knows of the Eye of Argonia?
It's got the skin for it, wouldn't you say? I'll find the thing yet, and before you, if I get my way.
Another soft skin with dreams of the priceless king's jewel of ancient Black Marsh. You look this sort too, all sword and swagger. Tobias, he describes you well.
Aye, but Cyrus here must save that adventure for another day. He's got a sister to find. I've told him that you will help him after I depart, Lizard. So mark me well.
Whatever you say.
Do you think Izara chose sides in the Civil War, and that is why she has disappeared?
Your family's always been partisan, lad, since your early days in Sentinel. I ventured she still held her old allegiances, even if you haven't. Few crowns in Stros Mackay survived the battle with the Imperials, but I know Izara was one of them.
How?
Hearing of the defeat of the crowns caused me much concern. When I arrived, I searched for word of Izara's safety. The only ones here who knew of her said that she had disappeared shortly after the Imperials landed.
I see the harbor is already arrayed in the flags of the Emperor, and that his men walk the streets as if born to them.
Stros Mackay's a dangerous port these days. There's an empire to be built, you know, and Tiber Septim shows no sign of slowing its increase from here to the edge of the world map. High Rock's border kings bent knee to the Cyrodiil long ago. Even my father's fair Skyrim is adorned with flags of red dragons and foreign men. We are entering a new era, I fear, with Septim's name writ long and wide upon it.
Any kind words for our new emperor?
He is good at what he does, and sees the holes lesser men leave wide. No offense to your Prince Ator, of course.
Hammerfell's problems are her own. I was only asking if Septim was the tyrant they say.
Of course he is. Tyranny means never having to say you're sorry. But Izara's fate has nothing to do with the Emperor, I'm sure. Look to the provisional governor if you suspect imperial entanglements. He's the real tyrant around here. How long were you in Wayrest, Cyrus?
Long enough to piss off the locals.
A bay ride from Sentinel. Close enough for you to hear about Prince Ator, then.
Yes, of late the criers are tripping over each other. There's so much to report of the blisteries out.
And you listened to it all, I'm sure.
Fine, recount all word of Prince Ator that I have shamefully ignored.
When his father died and the capital of Sentinel was taken over by the Forebears, the prince fled back here to his ancestral home of Stros Mackay. After rallying the crowns to his stead, he made for the throne again and had it near. That's when the Empire came. Through a forebear truce which no one expected. Again the prince was forced back to Stros Mackay, which he died defending. He will not long be forgotten. Lizard, another drink?
What were the terms of the Forebear truce?
Originally, the Empire was to lend its armies to the Forebear cause in return for a swath of holding titles along the southeast border. But when Baron Volag disappeared during the arse end of the war, all bets were off. A new treaty was formed, which garrisoned those imperial armies in the cities.
Until such a time as the native rulership can see fit to reinstate itself safely on its rightful throne.
Something like that, yes, sir. Septim's no Cyrodiil from what I've heard, though he rules their remnants and rebuilds their empire. He's something worse or greater, depending on your disposition to the center, son.
If he has no blood tie to the Cyrodiil throne, then how did he make it his?
Come on! For the last 400 years, the petty kings of Cyrodiil have been squabbling over the title of Emperor, all claiming forebearance. Imperial throne's blood's thinner than a sea dream and half as wet. Tiber Septim took the throne as he took your peoples.
Hail the new conqueror.
There's a good little subject.
You used to hire out to those petty kings, did you not?
20 years ago, maybe, when the whole heart of Tamriel was in chaos. I can admire Tiber Septim insofar that he has managed to consolidate the rags and tatters that bickered there then.
No empire is a good thing, Captain.
There's a Redguard for you.
So the Nord kings have submitted to Tiber Septim too.
They do not worry over much. They have outlasted empires before, and this conquest will be no different. Hammerfell has been the bloodiest invasion of current record, and by comparison, Skyrim's occupation seemed like a ballet.
Do you know if Azara fought in the Battle of Stros Mackay?
My investigations were limited, I'll admit. If she fought, I can't say, but I would guess that she did. The battle was the penultra of the crowns, and all who subscribed to the name no doubt took up arms. While most of them were slain at sea, others have been taken prisoner by the governor.
Tell me about the provisional governor, Captain.
When I arrived, his soldiers showed me the finer points of Richton's new docking tax and scoured my ship for leaguesmen. I must say he's a bit of an asshole. You'd better watch yourself around him.
So why aren't you in jail?
Meaning why aren't said soldiers in little boxes at the foot of the palace gate? Because I didn't come to port to get myself in trouble, but to get your sister out.
Should I look into seeing this governor then?
That's where I'd look, laddie.
Could she be in jail?
I haven't exactly knocked on the door to find out. That's your job now. But I know the jail's off limits to non-Imperials. Now, read no visitors whatsoever.
We'll see about that. Imperial expansion has been feared for years. Why wasn't Hammerfell better prepared?
Factional squabbles, divided councils, miscalculations. Crowns lost heart when they lost the capital. Forebears lost their heads completely when they welcomed the Empire's friendship and aid.
So the Empire played the forebears pretty well, eh?
What else is a visionary with an open invitation to do? The forebears are having futile second thoughts now, no doubt. Probably why they're so bitter and driven to bar brawls.
What of the crowns?
Not too many left around here. The few that are don't admit it to just anyone. Talk to Siona, a friend of mine. You may have seen her down by the docks. Tell her I sent you, so she'll know you're no Imperial stoolie. She may be able to help you.
How have the forebears fared under Septim's rule?
The throne of Sentinel is kept warm by another Imperial governor. That should be indication enough.
How is the city of Sentinel? I never returned.
For long my men plied the Iliac, and Sentinel was along the run. That's how I came to know that Izara moved from there to here. I kept up with her for your sake. If even it were a dream to think anything would come of it, when Volag's purge ignited through the north, I went there seeking to help her. But she was already gone. Later, I learned she'd come to Stros Mackay.
What was Volag's purge?
When Thasad died, Baron Volag led the forebears into an uprising for control of the capital. All crowns were forced to leave Sentinel after that first massacre. Your sister was among those that followed the prince here to Stros Mackay to plan the counterattack. I swear, Cyrus, are you always such a lame brain when it comes to word of recent Hammerfell?
I've come to cultivate a certain indifference about the homeland.
And this is a good thing?
So his character is in question. Again.
She was your sister, Cyrus.
I was probably miles away.
A proximity often and on purpose, I'd suspect. Yeah, well, you're here now.
Facade II, so storied in song. It was unwise to invest the Republic on one man.
The forebears are over there, Cyrus, if you want the company to match the sentiment.
No, it's just... he was dying when I was still a young kid. We Redguards were only waiting for it to happen. My father kept his profession in one hand and a whetstone in the other. We knew that civil war would come. If Facade was so great, why didn't he do more in his life to protect the kingdom after his death?
Some things have to be left for the son.
The head of the forebears is a subject of the Empire now.
Or subject to the Empire's execution, from spake of it. He disappeared the day Stros Mackay was taken, and Sentinel lay in a similar state. Provisional governors rule both cities now.
I'll be back. If you're not here, thanks for everything, and good luck.
Just find your sister and get out of here, and send word through Srathra. Go on, you'll do fine.
Cyrus, can I help you?
Hello, brother. I'm Cyrus, recent to this shore.
Brother Niddle, good son, welcome to the Temple of Arcade.
My sister Izara has been missing for near 3 months. Perhaps you have heard of her?
I knew her well, actually, but she never mentioned having a brother. She was a fiery sort, as I'm sure you know, and her Redguard blood did not fare well under Imperial rule. She is not the only nationalist who has disappeared since the governor claimed the city. There have been others.
What others have disappeared?
Brother Kithral, my initiate and good friend, for one. He was an outspoken man and a Crown sympathizer. He was enamored of your sister, I must say, and took to her Crown propaganda readily. Are you a follower of RK, Cyrus?
Me? No. Well, not in the worshiper sense.
In what sense, then?
I'm not that wayward, brother. I do believe in the gods and in their, importance to man and, all that.
And RK's importance would be...
I'm usually the one who asks all the questions, Brother Niddle.
Humor an old man.
RK, then, the shepherd of the soul who watches us through our lives and our deaths and guides us between them in the heavenly interim.
May he watch over you.
Is there anything you can tell me about the Restless League, brother?
I know very little about their activities, Cyrus. The common stories, sure, but not much more.
I know even less of the League than you, brother. The common stories included.
Then know that they are ruffians and cutthroats who would like nothing more than carve their symbol upon the Emperor's eyes for daring to set them on Hammerfell. And know they secretly served the prince against the forebears during the Civil War to help Ator win back Sentinel.
What is the League's symbol?
The red R, for restless as they ever are. Trust me, you will see it if you stay in Stros Makai for long, invariably written in Imperial blood.
Sentinel, the capital city.
From whence Ator was forced to flee soon after his father died. Aye, but the crowns gathered here at Stros Makai and charged northwards to take their throne city back. But by then, the Imperial's bargain had been struck.
How is Stros Makai these days, Brother Niddle?
You should be able to see it just from the faces on the streets, my boy. But then again, there aren't that many faces out there anymore. Things have become quiet since the occupation.
I have seen the Empire expanding into all of Tamriel in my travels. Why is the occupation of Stros Makai full of more bloodshed than most?
You have only your Redguard blood to answer that, my boy.
When has Hammerfell ever suffered foreign rule? The Civil War was bloody, to be sure, but when the forebears allied with the Empire, the crowns felt they had been betrayed by their own kind. They were prepared to fight to the last man, and the Empire sent Admiral Richten to make sure they did.
Tell me of the forebears.
Living in Stros Mackay, you only get the crown definition, of course. That the forebears were the pretenders to the throne, that they betrayed the Republic, and that Hammerfell has been cursed by their cowardice.
Azara was a crown, I know that. As a crown, what would be her fate?
I fear, sadly, that the crown's days are ended. The forebears' alliance with Emperor Septim made sure of that.
What else do you know about Richten?
That you should stay away from him, my boy. He will not care if you are a crown or not, should he find out that you are Azara's brother. However, you are probably safe in the city for the time being, as he never leaves the palace, it seems.
I escaped Hammerfell just before the Civil War and without regret. And that is probably why Azara never mentioned me to you. Well, it was through a mutual friend that I learned of her disappearance.
The war cost this city much, Cyrus. Though an outsider may not see it, the crowns are gone now, and only the League remains as their testament.
The temple seems very empty, Brother Niddle. Are you its only priest?
We have ever been understaffed. It was horrible right after the battle. All the dead and dying. But luckily, I had Brother Kithral to help me tend to them. Since he is gone now, I must carry on alone.
When did you last see Kithral?
I sent him to the park for fresh mandrake root, and that is probably where Richten's men were waiting. Kithral was against the Imperial expansion from the start, though I reminded him that Archay frowns on more secular interests. This warning Kithral obviously did not take to heart.
What can you tell me about the governor?
That he is a hard man. Richten threatened to raise the temple when I refused to hand over the wounded of Prince Ator, who had survived the battle. I assured him that even his emperor could not defy divine law. Nevertheless, the wounded under my care were healed only to be thrown into the catacombs thereafter.
What of Prince Ator?
He was lost at sea, my boy. That is all I know. And that it was rumored that Azara knew him personally.
So my sister knew the prince then?
Leave that alone, boy. That was but a rumor.
Did my sister fight in the Battle of Stros Mackay?
No, she was never part of the military. She could have been, though. She was good with a sword, I hear.
What is the divine law?
Richten wanted to rescind the crown's right to sanctuary while they were wounded, or to desecrate the bodies of the enemy dead before I gave them their last rites.
What happened to the bodies of Ator's men after the last rites?
Food for the dragon, more than likely, but at least their souls are safe from the necromancer.
What about this necromancer?
Nagasta has been here long, manifest in Thassad's good rule. Ator had kept his wretchedness at bay, but now, with the prince gone, he has cursed the land.
How has Nagasta cursed the land?
The very soil of Strosmakai is cursed. Nagasta has become very powerful and has weaved a soul snare across the island. Any who die must quickly have their last rites performed before their souls become his to claim.
Do you know anyone that Azara may have kept company with, vanished nationalist or otherwise?
Like I said, I knew her well, and she spoke often to Brother Kithral, my former initiate, but he, too, has disappeared. She was a devout Archaean, Izara. I once almost convinced her to join the temple, but that was before she... well...
Before she what, Brother Niddle?
Well, man, before she vanished.
I trust that you will seek me out if you hear anything more of my sister.
I will be honest, Cyrus. She is either dead or worse, for I know she would not have left Strosmakai even after Ator's defeat. Richten had a list of rebels when he took the throne, and Isara's name was undoubtedly upon it. Are you a follower of Archae, Cyrus?
Me? No. Well, not in the worshipper sense.
In what sense, then?
I'm not that wayward, brother. I do believe...
And
I'm usually the one who asks...
humor, no?
Archae...
May he...
When...
This...
What can... So Ator's men are in the catacombs, then?
Either that, or they are fruit for the necromancer. It is somehow appropriate that Richten deals with that nefarious slug.
The Imperials have a dragon?
Its name is Nathalalagus, and it lives in the catacombs, or so I have heard. It has not been seen in the skies since the battle, so maybe Richten is lying about it still being around.
Can you heal me, Brother Niddle?
Please forgive the formalities, but the governor has levied a temple tax of 25 gold for any magical services rendered, healing or otherwise. Will you pay the tax?
Forget it.
I am truly sorry, but I cannot help you then.
Why the temple tax?
Just another of Richten's rules, my boy, along with several other solutions to the burden of empire.
Until later, Brother Niddle.
Goodbye, my son.